Hello, ladies, and welcome to the Menopause Made Easy podcast with Tanya. Today, I'm talking about achy joints and stiffness and frozen shoulder, which I have. And maybe you have stiff knees or stiff lower back or achy lower back or achy hips. But I'm going to tell you why and give you a couple of suggestions here. So I can honestly say that since having a menstrual cycle since I was a teenager, I definitely did not understand the importance of my hormones and how they cycled, which kept my body healthy and happy. And fortunately, this is being talked about more, and we are really, I hope, encouraging girls, women who have a cycle to really embrace the beauty of it and how important it is to your health and well-being. So we have these beautiful cyclical rhythmic dances of peaks and valleys with our hormones, that there's like a lot of different pieces during this cycle that come together. And I'm not going to go over the menstrual cycle here, but we trigger certain cellular behaviors that keep women's bodies healthy. And when we are going through perimenopause, which can start around the age of 30-ish, somewhere in there, and last until you don't have a period anymore, and then you're in postmenopause. So you could be postmenopause and still have the things that I'm talking about today, because our hormones have eventually tapered off and we lose that protective ability of these hormones. And unfortunately, it really puts us at an increased risk of multiple health issues. And I found this fascinating, this statistic that more than 4,000 gene products and 400 physiological processes in a woman's body depend on estradiol and progesterone. So I have done a few episodes on estrogen. We talk about estradiol, oh my gosh, I'm having brain farts today. Anyway, there's 3 parts of estrogen. And so you can go listen to that because I'm not going to repeat myself here. Okay, so with our declining hormones, which start again in our 30s, we may not only experience the obvious signs such as night sweats and hot flashes, but also hidden things like a decrease in bone density. And I did a great osteoporosis episode, I think it's number 8, and an increased risk of fracture. But we also have a increased risk of cardiovascular disease. And I think it's episode 153 when I had Michelle on. We have a great episode on the heart healthy. I would definitely listen to that one. The psychological effects, which can include depression and anxiety, which we're seeing a lot of 30 and 40-year-olds experiencing that. Some early decline in cognition, some brain fog, some stumbling over the words, like you've just heard me doing this podcast. We can also have dry skin, dry hair, hair loss, loss of hearing, and so much more. And I'm so sad and I'm ticked off. I'm ticked off. I really am. I'm going through a little bit of a pity party right now because, you know, we're aging and we're in this process of aging, and also our hormones, which we cannot control the loss of these hormones because they just happen. Mind you, you can decide whether to do hormone replacement therapy or not. But I want to give you some hope. I really want to give you some hope because I'm going to touch upon frozen shoulder and my story. But this will pertain to, especially if you have some aches and pains in your body. So I have my right arm, my right shoulder specifically has definitely, it's never had the exact same range of motion as my left shoulder. Because let's be honest, if I look at my mechanics, so I really want you to be aware of, you know, if you are feeling pain, really looking at how you stand, how you sit, what side dominates. And I can absolutely look at my right shoulder and I'm like, I have it tilted forward when I use my mouse, when I'm cooking, when I'm doing so many activities. My right shoulder tends to be a little tighter in the front because I'm using it. So I can't blame 100% of my frozen shoulder on my declining hormones, because I also have to look at my body, how I've used it, right? And so think about that, because this is one thing as a personal trainer, anybody who's ever personal trained with me or taken my classes, I'm very sticky on form and really trying to bring our body back into perfect posture. And I don't have perfect posture, but I keep trying to bring myself back to it by sitting differently, standing differently, moving differently, using a roller, using blocks, stretching, yoga, Pilates, and really have revamped my movement routine over the last 10, 15 years. All right. But there's one thing I really couldn't help, and maybe this is why my shoulder was more sore, and I didn't even realize it. Nobody ever really mentioned it. But the sex hormones, estrogen and progesterone, play a key role in the structure, function, and collagen composition of most of the connective tissue and joints throughout the body. So remember that, anything that bends in your body is a joint, and then you have your muscles, which have like fascia around them, and connective tissue, which go into tendons and ligaments. And these tendons, ligaments, joints, collagen are affected by our sex hormones. And so specifically estrogen, has a significant role in stimulating bone growth and reducing pain and inflammation, and really helping to promote healthy connective tissue. So as we're going through this menopausal adventure and we have this loss of estradiol, it not only impairs our vascular system, which is feeding these structures, but also the strength, flexibility, and range of motion. And I definitely, as much as I've worked on this shoulder and I've gone for osteo, I still go for osteo, I roll, I block, I really try and be aware of my movement patterns. I'm constantly oiling it because it's got beautiful synovial fluid around the joint. I'm definitely doing, and I'm going to talk about diet at the end of this, but I'm definitely aware of my motion and trying to keep all my joints moving. Because remember, ladies, if we don't move it, think of a car. If you're driving a car and you keep driving it and you look after it, it keeps running. But if you leave it sitting in the driveway for 5 years and you go to drive it, it's not going to function properly. So movement is key. Okay, so I definitely can feel that I have lost some range of motion in this shoulder. And, there's been a few other achy joints over the course of going through this menopausal journey. All right, so low estradiol, as I've mentioned before, contributes to cartilage degeneration, which means that these bones can start rubbing together, which is very painful. All right. And this can cause stiffness and the development of bone spurs. I have trouble saying that. And this can trigger a vicious cycle of stiffness and pain and swelling and inflammation that I mentioned, like I said, around the joint, the tendons, and the ligaments. Okay. This is why we must look at some lifestyle changes that we need to make. So as tissue health decreases in midlife, right, and that includes myself, and yes, it will present differently in all of us. So you may not experience any of this at all. And for some of you, it could be super severe and you could feel stuck and aggravated and overwhelmed about what to do, but we'll talk about that. But I definitely keep my eye on my body because I want to move. I want to keep moving in my 80s. So I got to be on top of this. All right. So do you have achiness and pain in your shoulders, your knees, your fingers, your feet, your hips, your lower back? Right. And so one reason for this could be, again, that you're not moving, or that your diet has too many inflammatory factors in it, which we'll talk about, and that we have this loss of estradiol, which impairs our mobility and can affect our quality of life and make us vulnerable to injuries and loss of mobility, which we don't want. And frozen shoulder is a really common one, and it's predominantly between women of 40 to 60, and this is when we're in the throes of hormone loss, and nobody ever mentioned that to me. So this is why I want to talk about this, because estrogen and progesterone really affect, like I said, 4,400 processes in your body and your mind. Okay, so things are happening, and it's super important that we protect our connective tissue and joint health during this time so that we can live vibrantly in the second half of our lives. So I had a great hormonal interview with Dr. Kat, and I also, which I think was 150-ish in there, and I also did a Hormones 101, which I think is about 151, episode 151. And you can decide for yourself what journey you would like to take with hormones. I would definitely go and talk to your doctor. I have spent the last, since 2019, getting my hormones tested, about researching hormones. There's a great book called Estrogen Matters, which I think is really important to read. And really become the CEO of your health. It takes time. Like I said, I've been working on this is 2024. 5 years I have spent doing this, and it was probably a little bit before that. And I'm just starting to see, with the abundance of material coming out and books that I'm reading and podcasts that I'm listening to, really connecting so many dots about why certain things are happening in our body. So you can look at supplementing your life with estradiol and progesterone, but just remember that even though they can be super helpful to you, you also have to make sure you're doing the lifestyle changes along with it. All right, which is what I have spent like the last 5 years, 5 or 6 years. In fact, I would go back to age of 35 is when I really started to change things, because I noticed that I was not being able to tolerate sugars as much and alcohol, and this has just progressed. And so I really worked at cleaning up my diet. Then I started changing my workout patterns, and then I really started to get into my hormones and being like, what can I do about this? So I have the odd temper tantrum. Let me tell you, I do, because I have had to make changes to my diet and movement. And I know that when I eat too much sugar or too much starch, or move my body without giving it enough rest, or have alcohol and I'm not supporting my systems properly, I feel it, and I can't deny it. I can't run away from it anymore. It's real. And so yes, I do have temper tantrums because I wish it wasn't so. Sometimes I really do, but that's I can't hide from the fact that my body is changing, my hormones are changing, and I can either put my big girl pants on and, make some changes that I need to make in order to live gracefully, and age gracefully. All right, so I've mentioned this before. If you are feeling this achiness, this inflammation, this stiffness, okay, perhaps go and talk to your doctor about hormones to see if that is the right next step for you. And while you're contemplating that, and if you do decide to do that, please know that you must align your lifestyle, because genetics count for 5%, lifestyle counts for 95%. Okay, and the reason I'm just throwing that out there is because I want to empower you with how much control you have. So look at your diet. Are you eating plenty of vegetables and fruit, lean proteins, healthy fats, minimizing sugars and starches and alcohol and seed oils, because these are causing an inflammatory shitstorm in your body. They really are. And I've done so many episodes on eating, and I will continue, because I know so many of you come to me and you have issues with this. And then, have you looked at your movement routine? Are you moving? Are you walking every day? Are you rolling? Are you caring for your joints? Are you stretching, Pilates, yoga? Are you lifting weights, right? Do you have a balanced menopausal workout routine? And I love this because I was just working with a client and she is just right now working hard, like everything's hard weights, and she's built up a lot of strength, which is really great. And she just came to me because she's like, okay, what do I need to do? And I said to her, you need to actually start including rest. You need to rest, you need to roll, you need to do some yoga, some Pilates, some stretching with what you're doing as well. And the analogy to this is that, think of it this way: if you are just lifting weights or just doing yoga or just walking or just doing cardio, it's like eating protein and nothing else, or eating carbohydrates and nothing else. And we know that we need a balanced menopausal plate, right, in order to feed all the muscles and joints and tissues proper nutrition. So just like working out, we need a balanced menopausal movement plan. And these are all the things that I do in my Vibrant Living Academy. I teach you how to do weights, and there has to be over 2,000 classes in there now, anywhere from 5 minutes to 30 minutes long, showing you how I exercise. I add 4 new classes a week, and you can follow along for a month or a year or 2 months, whatever you want. And you can really get an idea for a very, affordable, what does that look like? What does that movement look like? And you can also pick up a lot of mindset hacks and nutrition tips as well. So I just wanted to talk about frozen shoulder today. I wanted to talk about stiffness and achy joints, and just share with you, it's not in your head. Yes, we are getting older, but that's not an excuse. There are plenty of older people who don't have hormones, who are moving and thriving in life. And so we have to ask ourselves, what are they doing that I am not doing? Right? And if you feel it's appropriate, go and talk to your doctor about taking hormones, but please make sure you're accompanying it with lifestyle changes as well. And I know that habits can be hard to change. I know, because I'm continuously trying to upgrade my habits. And like I said, I have temper tantrums. But if you need help, please reach out and I will help you to put a plan together so that you can thrive in the second half of your life. So thanks for listening, ladies. Enjoy your beautiful day, night, morning, whenever you're listening to this. Please share this with anybody and everybody. All right, beauties, have a beautiful day.